And then the brush was given, and then the tint was placed, and for one moment the painter stood entranced before the work which he had wrought. But in the next, while he yet gazed, he grew tremulous and very pallid and aghast, and crying with a loud voice, "This is indeed life itself!" turned suddenly to regard his beloved. She was dead. Greetings, Poe fans, and welcome back to one of our degree episodes. Jeanie, what's going on?
Yo, we're going to be talking about some wild stuff in this episode, and we're being joined as a co-host today with this Holly Knightley.
Holly,
Welcome, Holly.
Favorite. Yay!
Glad to be back. Thanks, ladies.
Yes, and Holly, you want to hit us with another quote so we can burrow right in.
From Oscar Wilde, the critic as artist, anyone can make history. Only a great man can write it.
Excellent.
Yes. And that's
perfectly when we're talking about two of the greats that I like Wilde. I'm not wild about Wilde, but I'm more poetastic. You know what I'm saying? Just
well, and to me, the quote that Holly read is so apropos because, again, they are both just some of the, like you said, the greatest writers that we've had. And, Poe was even part Irish. So, there's lots of Poe connections here with the two of these guys.
Yeah, and I read someplace where some people were pointing out that how it could be that Wilde was influenced by Poe, and why wasn't it the other way around? And I'm thinking, well, first of all, the dude was born way after Poe was dead, so that's kind of, unless he was, we don't think it, but he could have been. But Poe writing from the grave, we can't prove.
True.
But at the same time. Yes, but at the same time, not many people, I think, know that Wilde actually came to the United States and Canada around 1882, I believe, to do some teaching and stuff. And so that's where he could learn about some American authors like Edgar Allan Poe.
Absolutely. Yes, and I was going to say, speaking of when he was born October 16th, 1854. So that would have been 5 years after Poe died, and he was born in Dublin, Ireland, and lived until November 30th, 1900. So, and he was only 46. So again, when you look at the two of them, Poe was 40, he was 46, so very close in age. But yeah, 1882, I had written that down, Jeanie, that he definitely did a lecture tour in America.
Yeah, and Canada. So
yes.
And I mean, first of all, like with Poe, we've discussed that some of his works, like about Auguste Dupin, started in the magazine serials. It wasn't actually a published work or anything that was in book form. It was in something that you could get off the street.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Wilde stuff kind of started in the same way. Like the picture of Dorian Gray was actually published in a magazine before it ever became a book form.
Yeah.
And the sad thing was that the story wasn't published long before his death.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of similarities between these two. But one thing and another thing is, as I was reading about Wilde, was they like to make fun of him, use him as a satiric whipping boy, so to speak. And that was a lot of Poe, similarities going on there too, even though those two had never met. But it's kind of like you wonder, was Oscar Wilde reincarnation of Poe? Or, because, it wasn't just the picture of Dorian Gray that there was a lot of similarities between what he wrote. He actually wrote a case. Oh, I can't think of the name of it.
Holly, do you remember?
It was a crime. What was it called?
Poe or Wilde?
Wild.
About a crime. I mean, he wrote about him being in prison. I was gonna say, Oscar Wilde. Like, I'm a big Oscar. At least, put throw this out here. I'm a big Oscar
Go
Wilde
for
fan.
it.
I think I've read everything he's written. Not a historian, though. But I mean, they're both very tragic characters because Oscar Wilde wasn't afraid to be himself in a time when being a homosexual was like actually illegal. That's
Yes.
why he went to
Yep.
jail.
Mhm.
But he was what they called a dandy. He was flamboyant before flamboyant
Mhm.
was like a thing. He wore the stockings, he wore the velvet, he wore the hat with the fluffy little feather. So he was often, like Jeannie said, like made into a satirical like character in the newspapers and the magazines. But also before his fall from grace, and Poe had this moment too, right? After The Raven was
Mhm.
published, he was a household name for his like 5 minutes of fame while he was alive. Oscar Wilde had published, or not published, he had put out 4 plays within 3 years, and they were like blockbusters. He was like the man of playwrights. He
Mhm.
was wealthy. He was a household name. I mean, so his larger than life persona fed into that. It's like in that Victorian culture, it worked.
Yeah.
It worked until he like Poe was tragic in love in a different way. Until he met Lord Alfred Douglas, which is known as Boise. You'll hear Oscar Wilde fans call him that. That's how he was known from his friends and family. He
Mhm.
was this young poet, super talented. People always kind of throw Boise to the side saying he wasn't talented, or they never mention the fact that Oscar Wilde loved him because he was this beautiful boy and he was extremely talented. It was everything. It was the aestheticism that Oscar Wilde was looking for, and so was Poe. This idea of beauty. So when he fell in love with him, basically it was right after the picture of Dorian Gray. It was like the summer. No, I don't want to say the summer, but it was shortly with that in that year, and it was kind of downhill from then. Like basically, he found love and he let it kill him.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and in a way, we can bring that back to Poe because not only did the deaths in Poe's life fuel him, but I mean, realistically, they also fueled all the bad things that made him, potentially like sick. When he did have a drink that he knew he wasn't allowed to have because he had a sensitivity to it. When he tried to commit suicide over Sarah, my goodness, I'm messing her up with the Tim Burton's ex-wife. Um,
Sarah
guys,
Helen
help me out.
Whitman or
Whitman, thank you.
yes.
I'm like gonna say Bohem Carter. Not the
I
right
didn't know if it
person.
was Whitman or if it was the
Oh
other
yes.
one that's
Yeah,
Well, yeah, because Elmira, Sarah was part
yeah.
of her name too. So it's very
they have a
it's
couple
easy
of
to get
Sarahs
those
in there. Yeah,
confused. Yeah.
but yeah. So I mean, love essentially killed these two men, and
Yes.
there's actually a lot of we know that Poe only wrote the one play that he never published.
Right.
On the other
Mhm.
hand, Oscar Wilde is most famous for The Picture of Dorian Gray, his only novel, which
Right.
Poe
Mhm.
only had one
One
novel as
novel.
well.
Hmm.
Author Gordon Pym, The Adventures of. Okay. From Nantucket at the end of that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole
Oh
big
yeah,
long.
it's a
I'm not gonna
mouth.
say it over because I will mess it up.
It is a mouthful for that title of his novel.
Yeah, but so they had a lot of similarities going from their personal lives
Yeah.
down to their writing. I mean, just as a fan, I know we had talked about this on Poe Unplugged, and I know Steve Ballard had talked about it, and it's also in his Potable Poe book about the William Wilson Dorian Gray
Yes.
connection, and of
Hmm.
course
Mhm.
the shape, Carmen, you read from the Oval Portrait at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw these out here that we can like talk about them or not talk about them, your
Yeah.
choice.
No,
But then
that sounds great.
the Counterville Ghost, which I love because it's a comedy, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
But he essentially, spoiler alert, if you've never read or saw any of the movies, he gets bricked up behind a wall, and
Hmm.
his ghost is haunting this house, right, or this castle. So, Hop Frog, we have the dwarf that's in that story, the tragic character. And Oscar Wilde also has a really tragic story in Birthday of Infanta.
Okay.
Hopefully I pronounced that right. It's Spanish.
Yeah.
And then I think it's very different, but I feel it has the same lines. I don't know if you girls have ever read The Happy Prince. It's one of his most well-known children's stories because Oscar Wilde also wrote children's books.
Yes.
Oh, and most of the children's stories, and then most of them are fables. And unfortunately, they're kind of sad, but in that way that really makes you self-reflect. My favorite being The Happy Prince. And in that, I'm not going to spoil it because it's absolutely one of the best like short stories ever. Read it. But there's a sparrow in it. So Poe had the raven, and Oscar Wilde has the sparrow. So you will often see him associated with the sparrow from this really amazing story, The Happy Prince.
That is really cool, and I did not know that.
Yeah, I like love that story. It is like it seriously makes me cry every time I read it. Then of course they had their self-sabotage, which we kind of got into a little bit. And so I mean, yeah, they have a lot of similarities. Oscar Wilde, of course, he was known for his wit in real life, where I think Poe was also known for being witty, but more on paper than per se in real life. But there are accounts of him being really great in a social setting.
Yes.
I mean, that's where Oscar Wilde really thrived. Like, he was witty. And for those of us who've seen or read any of Dorian Gray, Lord Henry, all those amazing epigrams, that's pure Oscar Wilde. He would like talk like that, like saying all these like really funny phrases. I mean, who doesn't want to be friends with someone like that? I always say, like, if you could go back in time, I definitely want to party with Oscar Wilde because that man, he knew how to get down.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and one other thing that, just like Poe, that I did not know about Oscar Wilde, this was really cool digging into his life. He also was an editor of a magazine, a ladies' magazine, and turned it from just like all about fashion to something that women could actually read and think, like where it wasn't just the kind of shallowness of society. It was more about here's some stories, here's articles that you can sink your teeth into. And I thought that was really interesting.
And like Poe, he turned that magazine around, right?
Yes.
I mean,
he did.
They hired him to fix it, and he did. So yeah. I mean, same.
Absolutely.
Just very brilliant, smart, quick-minded man for sure.
Yeah. It was called Ladies' World, and that was in 1885. And so one other thing that I thought was really interesting, I knew Oscar Wilde wrote poetry, but I have not really dug in and like read any of it that I can remember. But in 1878, when he graduated, he won the Newgate Prize for his poem Ravenna. I think it's Ravenna. And I don't know didn't have a chance to actually read the poem, but I thought it was very ironic that it's Ravenna with Raven.
Take out the last two letters. Hey, you got the Raven.
Exactly. But that was not long before he did come to America. And one of the other authors that Wilde liked, which Poe also liked, was Walt Whitman. And Wilde was able to meet him, Longfellow, and I think Oliver Wendell Holmes. So that was a neat fact as well. And, because Walt Whitman, when they put what's now the monument for Poe's grave in 1875, Walt Whitman was there. So that is just really, really cool.
Yeah, and apparently that short story that I was telling you about was called Lord Arthur Saville's Crime.
Okay.
So it's
it's not. I mean, yeah, I'm sure I've read it because I know I went through the complete works or whatnot, but yeah, it's not ringing a bell as far as the actual plot for me. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's one of his minor ones that like many of Poe's stuff that more people know more about his poems than they do about his stories.
Yeah.
And more people know about Wilde's picture of Dorian Gray than they do most anything else, except for the few people like Holly, who has been a big fan through his, is it called The Happy Prince? Is that what you said?
Yeah, The Happy Prince. That's one of the children's stories,
And see, I didn't even know he even wrote a children's book. So that was a new one on me. So, and that's another thing. There's so many things about so many different writers in their times that many people would probably relate to better if they knew more,
Mm-hmm.
if they found out more about them. Because Oscar Wilde, yeah, he had his own obstacles, much like Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe had his tragedies when it came to women in his life, and where Wilde, he had the tragedy based on, like Holly said earlier, who he loved,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we all know that even in today's society, it is still faux pas in many areas. And that's just ridiculous. Why would, I mean, he was actually married. Oscar Wilde married Constance and actually had two sons,
Mm-hmm.
but still faced prison term and was convicted. I don't know exactly what they called it, but
Gross indecency.
yeah. And so it was just one of those things that you just, are you kidding me? And then he just went off. He got exiled to Paris instead of going to jail.
Yeah.
He got exiled to Paris, France. And he ended up dying from cerebral meningitis.
Well, he did go to jail. He spent 2 years in jail. He got the harshest sentence possible. It was 2 years, what they called hard labor. It really not only took a toll on him mentally and physically. He wrote, I probably should have had a list of everything. I'm gonna probably pronounce it wrong. The De Fundis while he was in jail. It was essentially like him. It's a really great read, right? Because he's in prison when he's writing it, and he's relating his trials and tribulations to that of Jesus. Which after he got out, he really wanted to convert to Catholicism. We don't have to go all into that. But so yeah, he actually did spend the 2 years in jail. And a lot of people think that that's actually one of the reasons why he ended up dying of the meningitis is because he had passed out. I believe it was passed out. But anyway, he fell and like hit his ear and like ruptured. He got some sort of an infection in it. And they think that it was never was completely treated correctly. And that's actually how he got the meningitis. Of course, there's a couple of different speculations. So in that way, it's also a mystery. Like, what is it that like really killed him?
Really killed him.
Yeah.
So he shares with Poe.
Merlin had said it was his grandson Merlin said it was something. It wasn't exactly that, but it was related to the injury. Because Oscar Wilde still has like living relatives, which is really cool.
That is.
But yeah, so he did go to jail, and then when he left, he never wanted to go back to England, obviously.
Yeah.
So he did go to Paris, where he died in Paris, and he's buried there. And actually, one of his poems, one of his very last story, is actually on his monument.
Oh wow!
Take a little excerpt from it. So. But he did end up going to Paris to live out his life, basically as a recluse, like impoverished in poverty. But yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It was a total. Yeah, he went from being the man to people who like when he ran into people he knew, like basically would like mock him and make fun of him. There's several really good movies, and I wish I would have pulled them out because I'm trying to think of the actors. The one actor is like known for being Oscar Wilde. He's a huge fan, and he's portrayed him in several things. He actually does some of the audiobooks.
Okay.
And he actually looks like Oscar Wilde. It's like really strange.
Oh wow!
But I mean, if you just type in like Oscar Wilde movies, they'll pop up. So there's different ones, and of course there's one where Jude Law plays Lord Alfred Douglas. Even though in the other movie, I can't think of the actor's name. I think he actually is a better voice for me.
Is it Stephen Fry?
Yes, that's him. Yes, Stephen Fry.
Okay, I just looked it up, and yes, he does resemble him a lot. Yeah,
and the actor who plays Boise, and I'm also his name is slipping from me too. I mean, that's a really great. I think most fans kind of like revere that as like the movie, the more accurate, based off versus the Jude Law version that came like way before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth. I mean, it's worth the watch, because these are like movies that go into his life and kind of explore what it was like to be him in a time period where you really couldn't be yourself. But yeah, so they're good. They're a good watch. I mean, especially if you're an Oscar Wilde fan. But if you're an Oscar Wilde fan, you've probably already seen them. So
Yeah, I have not, and I do
so
like
here you go, Carmen, to your watch list.
absolutely
Yeah,
yes.
Stephen Fry is great, and he does some of the audiobooks.
Oh, that's
Like I said, he's
cool.
a huge. I mean, he like petitioned for those roles and stuff. Like, I mean, how could you not give that to him? I mean, he even looks like I say he looks like him.
He does. He does.
Mhm.
Well, one site that I found that talked about Oscar Wilde and his like being a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe was he called Poe the marvelous lord of rhythmic expression. And I just thought that was just so poetic that, he called him that.
Yeah, I love that. I don't even think I knew that, so that's awesome. Yeah, that's very
Yeah,
yeah. That's what a compliment, and I mean, to be
I
given
know.
from Oscar Wilde. Yeah,
Oh, I know. And it's
Mhm.
like, if Poe had just lived, 20, well, let's see, he died in 1849. Wilde came over in what we say
82,
1882. Yeah, if Poe had just been able to live, what, 10,
32
20,
more years.
yeah, they could have met. Wow.
yeah,
Just think about the like Poe, Wilde, and Whitman in a room together. That's very surreal.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, right. The greats, right? It's craziness.
I know it.
But at the same time, it's like we've discussed before. Would they have been the same if they hadn't experienced the same tragedies or the same parts of their life? Would
Right.
they have been able to write what they did? Would it come out the same?
Yeah.
What I mean, it's like when we think about the people that influenced us as we grew up, if we had actually met them one on one and talked to them and, anything like that, would we have turned out the way we had, or had we traveled down a different road? Like, I love Robert Frost. He's my, I hate to say it, Poe, don't listen, but
I
Frost
have a
is
Robert
like
Frost
my,
who I can see right there. I was gonna say I know where that one is.
yes, yes. So, but yes, Frost would be the one second to Poe that I would want to meet because the road less traveled still to this day and nothing gold can stay.
Yeah.
That one hit me when I was 10 years old, and that's because I watched The Outsiders.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Watch
I was
The
thinking that. I didn't
Outsiders.
want to be rude and be like, that's some real Pony Boy Curtis right there. No.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing. It was me watching that movie when I was 10 years old, and then me wanting to seek out that book because I literally waited until the end of the credits and read everything else about who wrote it and everything. Because you know how it says based on a book and all this kind of stuff. And as the next day I went to school, I immediately searched it out in the library because of that, you know, nothing gold can stay.
Yeah.
And then when I started reading it, and then I started finding Robert Frost, and it was like the road less traveled, and I'm like, this is one of the things that helped gear my own life.
Yeah.
It was one of the things that I did. It's like things were always right. I could have stayed on the path that everybody wanted for me, that I wanted to go, but I was like, no, no, no. Okay. And then I
I mean,
became a teacher, and I was like, man, I shouldn't have listened to the people that kept telling me I should be a teacher, but because it was going against the grain of the road less traveled for me.
Yeah.
It was like taking away my Robert Frost. Okay. But I did it. Dad blasted if I didn't enjoy it, but okay.
well, I mean, I think you make a great point, right? I think most of us agree that post tragic life, fueled was kind of like his muse, this dark muse for him.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
on the flip side of that, I think most Oscar Wilde fans and historians, I did get a chance to meet one not too long ago, the historian from New York. And oh my goodness, sorry, his name's slipping. I'm horrible.
It's okay.
But anyway, but but they actually believe that after he met Boise, it was just all downhill. That he actually became so obsessed that it actually hindered his ability to write. And then after he got, the defundus was essentially written to Boise. And then after that, he wrote one more thing, and he actually had said that, like, I can still write, but I lost the enjoy. Like, I'm loosely quoting Oscar Wilde, guys. Like, but I lost the pleasure in writing. I can't do it anymore. Like,
Wow.
so it actually had a difference. Like, I think Poe in that way was way more, ingenuitive. Like, he was able to, like, take, like, those lemons and make lemonade out of it, even though his life was still really crappy for him. We got to reap the benefits. Whereas, like, at the height of Oscar Wilde had like 10 years, not even, like 5 years of, like, super fame. He meets this man, his world gets flipped upside down. He essentially goes to jail over this man. Like I said, that's a whole other conversation. But but I mean, so really, it was his downside. So definitely, they were not able. Some people aren't able to kind of, like I said, make the lemonade out of lemons. And unfortunately for Oscar Wilde, I think he was one of them.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same aspect of what you're saying. There is I don't want to say, I'm going to say it. Wilde was in love with someone that was
toxic,
societal, no. Whereas with Poe was in love with someone, but yet he was kept from her because of his lack of, I guess, nobility or his goodness, or him being an orphan, so to speak. So they did share.
Son of an actor. Son of an
Exactly, son of an actor. Yeah. Instead of saying a son of a bee, it's son of an actor. But but at the same time, Wilde falling in love and being obsessed with this and truly wanting something but never actually being able to get it was what became his downfall. Because whereas with Poe, he kept seeking it out with others, like with other women. He would not just, he was seeking out love from the time he was 3 years old when his mother died.
Try again,
yeah. Whereas Wilde didn't have that opportunity. He couldn't. I mean, I think that's why he became obsessed rather than, he may have actually loved this man, but at one point,
did. I mean, he definitely loved him to the point of, like I said, like, it would just create a super toxic relationship. I think we've all been in those kind of toxic relationships.
Yes.
Like that love that can kill you. Some of us get away, and some of us don't want to get away.
Yeah. That is very true.
Poe had the opportunity to get away because he went to the military. Because one of the things, I think his love was overshadowed by his hate toward John Allan and his life and his control over Poe. And I think that's what kept him from becoming obsessed and maybe continuing to. Her name was it Sarah? Yeah, the first one was Sarah. Yeah,
first Sarah.
The first one and the last one were Sarah. Okay.
Yes.
So I think that's what kept him from becoming obsessed with the first Sarah. Because remember, he did write to her. He did try to connect with her while he was in the military, but the father threw away, and burned his letters before she ever saw it.
Yeah.
So he thought he still had a chance, but when he came back and she was already married, Poe was like, okay, now what do I do? I don't have a way of continuing to go after her. But Wilde he could have been that, yes, he was in love with this person, but he was in love with him to the point of where he didn't think he would have an opportunity to find somebody else because he couldn't. Is what I was getting towards, because society was really not going to allow him.
Oh yeah, he couldn't just go out. Yeah, I mean, he
couldn't be like Poe. He couldn't just go out and find somebody else to fall in love with or search out, because
it was illegal.
Wilde knew that he was putting his life on the line just to even fall in love with this man to begin with.
Absolutely.
And so Yeah, he probably, he died from his experience from the prison, but he also probably died of broken heart too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Even though,
his spirit was really, I mean, definitely broken, right?
yep.
Especially I think because when he was in jail, because his lover was a lord, he never like visited him or wrote to him or
Hmm.
anything, and his
Right.
other friends did. But yet
Yep.
when he got in prison, he still met up with him, right? Because he just had to see him,
Yeah.
But I
Exactly.
have to say, kind of like Poe, right? Oscar Wilde, when he died, very few people attended his funeral, but Boise
Hmm.
did attend. But Boise did actually go to that.
That's
Yeah.
that was
So
good.
he did actually attend that at least. But yeah, same thing. Like
A little too
no
late.
one really came. Was completely overshadowed. And then luckily like so many of the greats like Poe and Franz Kafka and Oscar Wilde, like he had those supporters that really believed in him and made sure that he wasn't going to be forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as for Poe, it went the opposite way because of good old Griswold.
Yes.
Griswold got him remembered for the wrong things because he lit a fire of over, with under the tails of the fanatics of Poe to really come at, and that's how Poe kind of got his memory, his memorial. And whereas with Wilde, thankfully he still had his fans, to
Oh yeah. Well, and
few as they may have been, but they
Well,
still
and his
remember him.
plays were so great. I mean, they're going to live in infamy. I mean, with being done, on stage, in film, people are going to continue to do that, even if they change the name to something more modern and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. I
Well,
mean,
funny enough, Carmen, in March, I'm actually going to see The Importance of Being Earnest. So,
oh,
which is Oscar
Nice.
cool.
Wilde's considered now his most famous play. So they're
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
actually putting it on. So when I was like, I'm super psyched because I've
yeah.
actually never seen a play of his live. Like it's just never in the right
Wow.
area, or it's
Oh,
like so
wow,
it'll be
Mm-hmm.
my first Oscar Wilde play. So I'm super excited about that.
that is
Yay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
That will be exciting.
Shout out to the Cumberland players in Cumberland
Well,
if you're in South
yep.
Jersey.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
They put on great shows. I will say that. Great shows.
Oh, well, good. Well, hopefully it will live up to,
Your
Yeah.
expectations.
envision. Yes. Well,
Exactly.
let's,
Now, did you say it was the Canterbury or the Canterville?
Canterville Ghost.
yeah,
Yes. Now, I have seen that one and I have read that one. I forgot about that one.
yeah,
Well,
that's
that
a,
one's so funny because it's like it just makes fun of like this British culture meets American culture,
yeah,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like a satire. So I mean, Poe would have loved this. He would have like lapped it up. It's so
right.
funny. So this ghost, all he wants to do is haunt and scare people, but he's basically overthrown by two American kids. Like he keeps leaving blood stains on the rug, but the American kids
Mm-hmm.
are like, "Well, I have a super stain remover. I can just remove that." And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" Like they weren't going to be because some of the movie portrayals make it a little darker, eerier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um, because I mean it's pretty brutal, right? He kills his wife and the brothers board him up, and that again,
right,
sorry,
right.
spoiler alert, too late though. But
That's
That's
yeah,
okay.
okay.
but
That's
the
okay.
whole thing is just it's actually just a lot of fun to read. So I
Yeah,
mean, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
again, there's so many examples. I know like the stain remover one's silly, and then they feel bad because like he's rattling the chain, so they get him like a rust spray, so they didn't make the I mean, it's such a super fun story, kind of like the don't bet the devil your head story that we
Mm-hmm.
it's just meant to be a fun story, but it actually did a lot with like where society was and what they thought of Americans at that time, especially
yeah.
Now I don't know
Yeah.
if this was after. I assume this was written after Oscar Wilde came to America, but I'm not sure. So that'd be interesting to look up.
Oh, that
But
would
yeah,
be because then
yeah,
it's like, okay, is that what he really thought of Americans?
yeah. Us on. I always say that's on culture. I'm so like, I'm so. Sometimes it can be very American. I apologize for this, but
Oh,
yeah,
Hold on. I'll tell you.
but yeah.
oh,
That
I'm
one is
looking it up.
really a
Keep
fun
going.
one. And it's one of those I always forget that he writes it, right? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, he wrote that, yeah.
oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, like all his plays were like comedies. He did write a tragic.
Canterville. Yes.
Oscar Wilde did Salome, which was a tragic. It was written in French originally.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, for the most part, Oscar Wilde and like same thing with the Picture of Dorian Gray. There's a lot of great humor from Lord Henry. So
Yes.
I mean, him and Poe have that a lot. I mean, they really like to have fun with like poke fun at like I guess what was like society norms of the time.
Yeah, and I was going to say there are not that many. I'm going to look them up because I don't remember. I was trying to remember the years. There are not that many versions of the picture of Dorian Gray film, and there's
Yeah.
one
I
that
have seen them all.
okay,
I mean the 70s one. Holy crap! No, I have seen all of them.
I have seen the original, which was 1945, and that one I do really like that
That's
version.
not is that the Angela Lansbury one, like the one, like the famous one, or is that the one that comes after that?
Yes, no, I'm pretty sure that has Angela Lansbury. It's got George Sanders, and he plays such a bad guy in most of his films.
Yeah.
He was also in, I think, Rebecca. He's been in a lot of things. And then I think I saw the 2009 version.
Is that the Ben Barnes?
I
I love Ben Barnes.
I don't think I liked that one. There
They
was
played a
one.
lot with that. They changed. They added characters and changed it a lot.
Was that the one that was more horror like?
Well, they went for that. It has Colin. I want to say Filth. It's not his name. Colin
Firth,
Filth.
yeah,
Firth
Firth, yeah.
and Ben Barnes in
Colin
it.
Firth.
Yeah. I mean, they added a character. Lord Henry has like a daughter, in that one and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now, which one are we talking about? I'm
I guess
looking
the
up
2009 one.
The Canterville Ghost.
Oh
No,
no,
Picture
of
of
the
Dorian Gray.
Dorian Gray.
Oh, I'm looking up Canterville Ghost. You guys are talking about
I
Dorian Gray, and I'm
I was
going, wait a
the one
minute.
I've only seen that one has that Alyssa Milano in it as a kid. It's the one I saw when I was a kid.
I love the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen
Oh
that
yeah,
has
Edward
that has
Townsend.
the
Yeah,
Dorian Gray
he plays
character
Dorian
in
Gray.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Canterville Ghost was written or first published January the 1st of 1887.
Okay, so it would have
So
been
it was
after.
after he came to America and Canada.
Oh,
Yeah. So
that's
I guess his story is authentic then, right?
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, so it looks like, and the one reason that after you said it and I started thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, because the one adaptation that is the movie adaptation about it that I love the most is the one that where Patrick Stewart plays the ghost.
I
Have
haven't
you
seen
seen
that
that one?
I have not seen
You
that
know
version.
what? I don't know. It's like I don't know if I have or not. It's like I kind of like got a glimpse, but so I would have to say no. For some reason I'm picturing him as Scrooge because I know he played Ebenezer Scrooge too. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Now, when you said the Canterville Ghost, I went, wait a minute. I know that. I forgot that Oscar Wilde wrote it. But
Yeah, I
yes,
always
that
forget
movie,
too. It's one of those,
yeah,
yeah.
that movie with Patrick Stewart, who played the ghost, is the one that plays in my mind because
I'm
I
gonna have to
loved
watch it
it.
and get back to you on that.
Yeah, because it was really good because I love Patrick Stewart.
He
I'm a
is. I
Trekkie.
mean, he is.
So,
I mean, Patrick Stewart is Patrick Stewart. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
yes,
make it so.
absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
Absolutely. Going back
No,
to
make it Poe.
Dorian Gray,
Sorry.
Dan Curtis did a version of it in 1973. I have not seen that one, but it
Oh, that
looks
was a good year. Good,
yeah,
sir.
well,
Oh, I
yeah,
wonder if that's the 70s one. That one was wild. I
yeah.
know. So
Mhm.
one of them is like really crazy. It's like he's there like hosing himself off with a hose, and he's like, man, the actor who plays him is like super famous and recently passed away.
Okay,
But anyway, yeah, is that one was like that one was really good. That one was really dark.
okay,
I don't know if it was Dan Curtis though, because now I know who he is because of Dr. Jeff. But
right,
Yes.
probably when
right.
I had watched this, like because I watched this like, geez, had to watch that like a long time ago. I would have seen the name and not really thought anything of it.
Yeah. Let's see. I think, yeah, I'm not. It was The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1973, and Dorian Gray was played by Shane Bryant.
No, yeah.
So I don't know.
Mhm.
But that's one version I haven't seen that I want to see. It comes like when I'm looking at like Tubi and that kind of thing, it shows up on there, and I'm like, I need to just sit down and watch it, and just haven't done it.
Yeah, I did this like I a couple years ago. I was in like my Dorian Gray moment, like,
Yeah.
and I watched like I said, I went through every single one. They have different ones on YouTube. Because I know there's somewhere like where Basil was played by some super famous actors.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I watched all of them because I was like, oh, which one's my favorite? And you know what the funny thing is? It has yet to be made because kind of like
Oh,
with it has yet to be made because it's like I like certain things from each of them.
but not one
But
that really
it
does everything. Yeah.
not one where I'm like maybe like I've seen there was a couple where it's like he's a really good Dorian or he's a really good Basil or he's a good Lord Henry, but not one where all three of them kind of I think work meshed together well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Well, and
That's
another,
usually how it works.
yeah, another spot where Dorian Gray was portrayed was in the TV show Penny Dreadful. If you
Oh
saw
my gosh,
that.
Reeve Carney, I absolutely love that man because I was to say he's one of those. He makes a really, for at least for me, kind of how I picture Dorian Gray, and
Hmm.
his character's so super mysterious in
Yes.
that.
Yes.
I love Penny Dreadfuls. If you guys haven't seen that show, it has
Oh,
everything. It takes all like classic horror and
it's
like
been
puts it together in such a
fantastic.
clever way.
Yeah, I loved it. I hated that it stopped.
And yeah, and Josh Hartnett's in it. Oh my goodness, like
Yes.
seriously, so good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I love Penny Dreadfuls. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, because I think we definitely should talk just a few minutes about just the picture of Dorian Gray and just Holly, you read off several different stories that are, you can tell it seemed like Wilde pulled from these stories like Oval Portrait, William Wilson, and that kind of thing.
Well, it makes sense, right, Carmen? Because Oscar Wilde was living a double life, right? So
Yes.
the
Yes.
idea of the double, it makes sense that
Hmm.
it really appealed to him,
Yeah.
right? And he really plays with this double, like in Dorian Gray, like the good and the bad, like in Poe's William Wilson,
Hmm.
right? The evil twin, the doppelganger.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
which I think is like, and now it's actually like a trope in horror, right? I mean, I
Oh
can
yeah.
never get enough twins. Like I am obsessed with twins. Like back in my day when I had my 9 to 5, we had several like twins that would come in. Once had triplets. I freaked out every time I saw them because like, and they know, like I was like that crazy lady at the dental office, like. But I absolutely love twins. I can't get enough of them in literature, in movies. The idea of this double, right? And we've
Yeah.
seen it through so many movies and stuff. And I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense for Oscar Wilde. I think he really kind of not only pulled from those themes of William Wilson. I mean, I think he took it like the next, like another step further. Like, because
Yeah.
at this point, most of us have seen some sort of version of Dorian Gray. It's like, what could you do if you could get away with it,
Yeah.
right? Like, what would you do if you never had to be held accountable for it? And I'm
Mhm.
one of those weird ones. Like, if anybody's out there that actually cries at the end of reading Dorian Gray, please contact me because I don't think that's the normal like feeling from it. But I feel like because like Dorian Gray, like, is he a villain? I don't think he is. I view him as a victim. Some people view his want to be good at the end as he was just trying something new, right? A new sensation
Yeah.
that he didn't get to live through. But for me, I feel like Dorian is such a tragic character, and seriously, every time I read it, I cry. And I've read it a whole bunch of times at this point. And yeah, so I know it's not normal, but seriously, reach out to me because if you cried during
Mhm.
Gray. But
Oh
yeah, let me stop talking.
yeah.
Well,
Well, and like the portrait, behind me is the portrait. It's in
The
the
famous one, yeah.
Chicago Museum of Art, and I've gotten to see this twice. Stand
Mhm.
right next to it, just look at it in awe. And the first time that I walked up to see this, I was just like, oh, yeah, it just, I don't know, it was just so neat. Just thinking about this was in this movie in 1945 and just it still exists. And yeah, I love the book. I just, yeah, I've read it twice and probably will eventually down the road read it again.
What's funny about that picture, right? I forgot, I was around some horror forum a while back, and they were talking about why isn't Dorian Gray considered one of the great monsters or the great villains? And it
Yes.
kind of came down to the idea of it's because Dorian Gray always changes, right? It's not really him. It's the portrait, right? And
Yeah.
the portrait changes. So it's like he does, there's not like a concrete version of who Dorian is that's iconic. The
Mm.
only thing that's iconic about it is actually the painting behind Carmen. And
Yeah.
I think it has shown up. It's shown up in a couple of different. What's the name of that show? It had showed up. There was a Dorian Gray character on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I believe, the new one, the reboot.
Okay.
There's Dorian
Yes.
works at the bar, and they do. I'm pretty sure it's that portrait makes. I mean, this has been a while since I watched it, but
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
been,
the portrait does pop up. But unfortunately, unlike other characters in horror, it's like or in lore, it's like anyone can be Dorian, and I think that's kind of like again, that's true. Like we all have that ugly side of us, you know, that evil twin that we're trying to repress. And
right.
I feel like the story is really relatable. Not only is it super well written, but I think that's why like the story has like become so popular because I think everyone could really relate to having to hide from themselves and you get in so deep and there's only one way to go, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's no out. You know, you just keep digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper.
That's true. And you know, when I think the first time I really thought about Dorian Gray being like a monster per se was when I watched Penny Dreadful because you know they had Dracula themed, you know, Frankenstein, you know, those kind, you know, the two big ones. And then when they brought him in, I was like, wait a minute. And then I started really thinking about it, and I'm like, the duality and, you know, and just something that you just said about, you know, why isn't he considered because he changes? You could really create a story where of Dorian Gray, like a modern version of it, where he's a shapeshift, the painting, the entity becomes a shapeshifter.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that'd be such a great series, like a Dorian Gray series.
Yes.
You know what? Where is that? Like strictly Dorian Gray, like all his crazy escapades. Like
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
because I mean some of those movie portrayals, I mean Dorian gets dark. I mean,
Yeah.
for the most part, Oscar Wilde alludes to it because a lot of that had to be cut and a lot of it that's why a
Yeah.
lot of it still is like too racy for the times. But I mean some of them, like I said, I saw one version where they actually show him like you know getting with a minor, a very young little girl.
Oh,
And one of
wow.
the portrayals, I was like, oh my goodness, like
Oh,
so I mean, you could go like you could get crazy. Like some of the movie portrayals have gotten a little like you know I guess darker you know than even I think I would have went with Dorian, but he was always
yeah.
after that sensation, you know,
Oh,
the new
yeah.
the new pleasure, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, any other thoughts on Wild, Poe?
I think there. I never stop talking. You should never invite me back because oh my goodness, I love both Poe and Oscar Wilde.
Yeah.
I just want to say I know a lot of people feel this way. The Picture of Dorian Gray is one of my all-time favorite novels.
Hmm.
I feel it's sad that it's the only one that he wrote
Yeah.
because it would have been nice. Oh, here's a funny little piece of trivia. Oscar Wilde's wife actually used to date Bram Stoker.
Oh, Wild.
Yeah. So yeah, why?
Sorry.
Right. Okay, it just popped in my head. I have no idea why, but end of the story. They're both really great. I love them both so very much. They're very important to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm glad you did this episode, and thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. We're so glad you got to join us. And because we knew, you know, we knew how.
He's like, oh my gosh, never again.
No, oh, no, Holly. No, this is awesome.
I just need to I should have looked up names. I relied on my memory, and my memory's not what it used to be. Not even last year.
No, that's totally
I
okay.
feel your pain.
That's why I always have, I write my notes down that way. And then, but I also just go over to a different tab and look things up too if I forget.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all good.
Works.
It's all good. But yeah, no, this has been a great discussion on Wild, Poe, and
yes, Wild Poe, Poe Gone Wild, all of it. You know.
Yeah, I think we were girls gone wild.
Yeah, we went wild because I mean, even though Oscar Wilde is pretty much a staple when you think of the great authors from
Yes.
the European era,
Mhm.
even though it's kind of odd that he has so many similarities with Poe being an American author. It's like I always said when I first found out that Poe wasn't European, because I always thought that Poe was from England and then Dickens was an American author. It wasn't until I looked them up and I went, wait a minute, Poe is American? What? Because he
Mhm.
wrote so much that dealt with like in that area,
Yeah.
like in France and England and Spain and all those. And I think the one thing with Wilde, just like with Whitman, I think that's one of the things that Whitman was friends with Wilde because they probably had a lot in common, especially in that day and time.
Mhm.
Uh, but Wilde was just like some of the others. He was misunderstood. He was labeled. He was persecuted. Poe was pretty much the same way. He was persecuted by being the son of an actor.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing that there's similarities. And I think Oscar Wilde, probably like many of us, saw a kindred spirit in
Yeah.
Poe. Hopefully not literally. Maybe that's why he wrote Canterville, Canterville's Roast. But
Yeah. Well,
he
and
saw Poe. Okay.
Poe and Wilde both were writers ahead of their time.
Hmm.
And it just, yeah. And again, it's too bad we can't prove Poe was a time traveler. I know I bring that up all the
That's
time,
true.
but it's just too wild. I'm going to say it again.
Oh
Well,
well,
I
it is.
yes, and I guess
On that note, we are
are
Poe.
oh out.
Behind every exquisite thing that existed, there was something tragic.